tragic for everyone who was part of it. I had the chance to talk to my wife just a moment ago, who said we became part of a statistic of too many Americans, those who have experienced or been part of or connected to a mass shooting. That is something that I hope we all recognize is highly problematic for all of us. I continue to commend our police officers, our firefighters, and others who were there to respond instantly. But we also need to figure out a way to make sure that things like this stop happening in our country.
Good morning, Kansas City. This is the Border Patrol on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Thank you so much for joining us, Stephen St. John and Nate Bukaty and Jake Gutierrez. It's Thursday, February 15th, 2024. Today on the show, we'll talk to Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News. We'll talk to Todd Lebo about yesterday's events, because he was down there covering the parade, and he was down there at Union Station. So we'll have Todd on at 7:30 just to get his perspective. Gary Dieter and Anthony Sherman will be with us in the 8 o'clock hour, and then Jesse Newell from the Kansas City Star will be with us. Look, hey, I try to be totally honest as much as I can on this show. I don't want to be here today. I don't want to be on the air today. I don't want to do the show today. But I'm going to. But I don't want to. I don't think Nate wants to. I don't think Jake wants to. But here we are. I don't want to talk about football or basketball or... Honestly, I don't want to talk about nothing. But I mean, yesterday was a beautiful day, beautiful weather, beautiful turnout for a celebration of something that the city could be so proud of, and I mean, just in an instant, it turned into one of the worst days in the city's history. And it's something we're never going to forget for all the wrong reasons. It's the wonderful young lady Lisa, who lost her life yesterday. I mean, just go read the tributes on Facebook or talk to anyone that ever has been around her. Jake and I were talking about this before the show. One of the most genuinely nice people you could ever possibly want to meet. Comes from a great family. An absolute shining light in the Latino community. Hosted a weekly radio show. Was a super popular DJ that DJed so many weddings and parties and quinceañeras and so many, wonderful, beautiful events in the city. I graduated St. Pius with her older brother, and another older brother was a senior when I was a freshman. And just my heart goes out to the Lopez family. I mean, you hear me talk about one of my best friends growing up and through my life, Hugo, who's also a DJ Hugo Nuts. I mean, he's even been on the show before. Lisa was his little cousin. I graduated with her brother Luther, and and her older brother Beto is again another shining light in the Latino community, in the Kansas City community, and just such a great family, and such. I mean, I grew up and I know so many of her cousins, and family members and everything, and it's so overwhelming to think about so many great people and wonderful people that are heartbroken and are suffering and are in pain right now. I texted and talked briefly with a few of them last night, and it's just, I just can't get my head around it, She had a husband and 2 kids, and they went to the parade like thousands of us, and they were trying to leave the parade, and now she ain't going home. So I don't know what I don't know what to say. I don't. Last time I saw her, she stopped by one of my Schlotsky's remotes, just took a picture so we could send to her cousins. And you get older and you grow apart from people you grew up with, and you have your own families. You don't get to see everybody as much as you used to when we was kids. Like I used to always go over to Hugo's house, and they all, Hugo lived, in the corner, and his cousin Lala lived across the street, and then, Beto and Carmen and Luther and Lisa lived right down the street, and, there's always this wonderful, beautiful, tight-knit family that's always together, and that's just not fair. It's just not. It's just hard. It's unfathomable. But I guess it's not. I mean, it happened, and it happens all too often in this world. But it's just. But that's one of the things, like as I was talking about, you kind of grow apart from people that you grow up with, or you just don't you don't see them as much, and that's like one of the things that I do love about Facebook. Sometimes we criticize and poke fun at social media. That's one of the things I love about Facebook, because I'm friends. I'm friends with Hugo on Facebook. I'm friends with so many, Lala, and I'm friends with Lisa on Facebook, and you get a chance, even though you're not around people still all the time as much as you were, you get to see their families grow, and you get to see what they're doing, and people always give me crap. You guys are somewhere every day. You guys are always going somewhere. You're always this and that, and it was just like watching her Facebook over the years and seeing her with her family. She was always doing some event or something for the community, and it's just a terrible, 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 terrible loss. And so many people that I care about, and dear friends of mine are just heartbroken, you know, and then everyone else, and then that's, and then there's other, you know, details about it that I mean, one of my, you know, one of my one of my best friends ever of my life, you know, 4 of his cousins got shot. 4 of his cousins got shot, including Lisa. And then you hear about kids recovering from gunshot wounds because they went to go celebrate their favorite football team. I mean, I don't think I have any meaningful perspective on this right now, and I'm not. This is. I barely slept. I was like, how am I even going to talk about this? Like, what am I going to say? And so I don't even feel like I'm rambling, but it's just terrible. It's awful. And I mean, our heart goes out to everybody that was affected. And I just can't imagine it. I cannot imagine it. You know, and even being down there was a moment, you know, and it just, you know, our man Gabe, I'm with Gabe, you know, when this is happening. And we're downtown. And, you know, we're a few blocks away from Union Station, so. But then we're watching on the TV and we're seeing, you know, the coverage, and all of a sudden you see people running in the background, and I look over to Gabe and I look like, why are people running in the background? What's going on? And then, you know, you see the people that I think we were watching 41. Start to look around. They're covering, like, and they're trying to figure out why are people running. And then, you know, you're trying to just dismiss it all. You know, maybe someone shot off some fireworks, or maybe there's a fight or something. And then you see on camera police officers running into Union Station with their guns drawn, and you're like, okay. And we were on Grand, and then Gabe, and I'm just sharing my perspective. I don't even honestly know what I'm talking about right now, but Gabe had this look of horror on his face. And he goes, my daughter's down there. And I mean, we were ready to go, you know. And he's on the phone, you know, because we don't know, you don't know. And we're standing there, and I mean, it felt like every police car in town was racing down Grand, and we wouldn't stood out there. And it was one of the most surreal things I've ever seen. I mean, just police car after police car, and you're in the moment, and so you don't know what's going on, and your imagination's running wild. We have no idea what's going on. We know it's bad. We see that's on TV. I know enough of that. And then every police car, and all you hear is sirens. And then you're thinking, oh my God, what's happening down there? What's happening down there? And Gabe's trying to get a hold of his daughter. And then right away, thankfully, she was able to contact him. I'm okay. And he's on the phone with her, and, you know, she's telling him what's going on. And he's telling her just to, you know, take cover. And, you know, and I'm like, we good? She good? You know, and all my family, they were with me. But then, you know, then I'm like, oh, Cooch is down there. Caesar's down there. their kids were down there. And then I'm on the phone, you know. Probably like thousands of other people in Kansas City frantically on the phone trying to make sure that the people that you love and care about are okay down there, you know. Mike's getting back to me. It was too crazy down there. We left 20 minutes early. Caesars, no, we're good. We're on the way back to St. Louis. And then you're trying to figure out what's going on the news. And I thought look, they were there to cover a parade, and they ended up covering a mass shooting. And I thought they did they did a very difficult job, and they did it well. Trying to convey as much information to everyone. But just imagine the number of people there and everything that's going on, and the mass hysteria. How could you possibly figure out exactly what was going on? And again, I apologize. I bounced all over the place, but I mentioned, police car after police car, first responder after first responder, going to the danger, not knowing what they're going to, fearlessly going. And so I take this opportunity to thank the first responders and all the people that run towards the danger. Not knowing. How could you? People in danger, you got to go. And we've seen the video of some Chiefs fans tackling one of the suspected shooters. There's a couple heroes. Who knows how many lives they might have saved. Kids, man, I can't, I sit here and say I can't believe it, but why wouldn't we believe it? Because it happens all the time. But it's just, So, we're going to talk about it. I don't know how well we'll talk about it, but I know there's a lot of people out there that are hurting, that are heartbroken, that are dealing with this at a personal level, and I just, our hearts go out to you. That's all I can tell you. And I just know too many people right now that I care about and love that are just, their hearts are crushed right now, and it's an overwhelming feeling. And so, best we can do is we'll be with you for 4 hours and just try to do this together. But it's important. I think that we're on the air, and just to try to give you, our thoughts. And I don't know, Nate, Jake, if you want to chime in. I know I've said a lot. I'm not sure exactly what I said, but yeah. But
thanks for being here this morning, man.
Yeah. It's and Jake, I know that we started to figure out, I was texting with you, and your cousins went to school with Lisa, and then you start realizing all these different connections, and it's like,
Yeah, this lovely woman was my age. She graduated in the same class that I did.
She graduated from EH.
Yep.
Oh.
And so I had, I went to a grade school that had part of our grade school went to Miege, and part of our grade school went to Aquinas. And, I reached out to a few of my friends that graduated with her last night. And, it's an absolute tragedy that a beautiful person, that any person lost their life in what was supposed to be a absolute day of celebration.
It's a tragedy that you had kids that were so excited to go down to a parade to celebrate the Chiefs winning a championship that are so traumatized they'll never want to go to a parade or never want to go to a public event like that for the rest of their lives, and that's just a painful truth.
Yeah.
I mean,
It expands even past the people that were right there in the area. My son came into my room last night in the middle of the night and wanted to sleep on the floor because he was still shook up. And I encourage everybody to check on everybody around you for a while after this, not just, even if you don't think you were as closely tied to the situation as other people, this is going to leave scars on a lot of people. A lot. And don't take for granted that the people around you are doing all right. Because I felt really silly. I didn't. My son and I were not there. We processed this all through. First, I even learned about it was the text message that you sent us. And then
I didn't know what was going on.
Right.
I just texted you guys. Yeah. I said, "Hey, something's going on down here."
Yeah.
I feel like every. I mean, they were racing down there. There's people running out of there. I'm just letting you guys know. Because I didn't know if you guys were still watching.
Yeah.
I said,
I was locked into the television. The first thing that I noticed,
I was like, I don't know, something's going on.
Yeah.
And it's bad. And I'll try to keep you guys updated.
No, and then you start piecing everything together. We watched all the coverage, and my nephew and his friends were down there. My cousin Lee and her friends. Immediately, that's the first thing I did, start texting anybody I knew that was down there, making sure they're okay. But anyways, we weren't even there, But I don't think I fully understood how shook up my son would be about it. I feel kind of stupid for that.
Well, this is something. There's nothing to.
there's no playbook
for us in Kansas City. How could you possibly have anything to compare this to, or any blueprint?
Right.
It's just, and everyone is going to react a different way.
Yeah.
And it's just, there's no
right or wrong.
I was telling Kelly last night about, when you started texting us about who had passed away, and I didn't know her, but obviously I was telling Kelly, I was like, you were at Hugo's house for Susan's baby shower, right?
That's right.
And
that's right.
I said, Hugo. We've known Hugo for a long time, and just thinking about what that entire, like when you put a face and a person to the families that are affected, and
I'm just going to tell you this. This is, and so I mean, obviously Hugo was heartbroken, but he was. We were texting back and forth. Him and his wife Sarah and their son Diego were with them.
yeah.
And they parted ways right before the shooting. Right before the shooting.
I just, as you were saying, we were texting last night, and I'm thinking, like, we're gonna talk for 4 hours today. I don't want to talk at all, but what do I even want to say? And I feel like probably most of us are cycling through a range of emotions, being completely heartbroken for the people that were victimized by this, being freaking angry that on a day that is like this city has hit its stride in so many ways we've talked about over the past since 2013, whatever we want to call it. There's just so much. We are all so freaking proud to be from this town. And this was another one of those moments that we're all so freaking proud to be from here. And for somebody to put such a stain on it for everyone, it just makes me so mad. But I know that's secondary to the people that are hurt the most. But you just cycle through these different emotions and try to process what you're feeling,
I would like people to. I mean, if you have access to Facebook, but I'd really like people to go to her Facebook page, Lisa Lopez Galvin, and take a few moments and look at all the different tributes and what people are saying about her, because I do not want that to get lost in this.
Right.
Because she was an unbelievably positive influence in this community. And I would really like people to take some time, take 5 or 10 minutes, and just look through all the different tributes that are being posted about her. I mean, I saw one girl, thanking her for coaching her in basketball at St. Agnes. Just things like that, and people thanking her for DJing their wedding and being a part of special moments of their life. You see what a special person she was. And I just hope, we talk about all these things, and I know moving forward, there's going to be a focus on who did this and why. But I want people to spend some time to examine who she was and how special she was and how wonderful her family is. And I mean that, because I spent a lot of time growing up in high school and years after high school around her family. And Pius isn't the biggest school. We had 83 kids in our graduating class, but graduated with her brother and several of her cousins, and just a very special family that has a special place in my heart. That no one deserves to go through anything like this, but spend some moments just looking at her Facebook page and seeing some of the tributes and some of the things that people are saying about her, or that might have listened to her, her weekly radio show on KKFI, or had an event that she DJ'd, or just crossed paths with her, and just get a sense for how special of a person she was and how special her family is. Because I feel like sometimes that when something like this happens, that gets lost too quickly.
Yeah.
And we start talking about other things, and there's plenty of time to talk about other things and why and who and how and everything else. But that's right now, that's the most important thing.
We need to memorialize her and for forever. All of the positivity that she brought to the city can never be forgotten.
And we need to, as a community, lift up the victims that are still going through struggles.
Yes.
These kids that
Yes.
So, all right, we will take a break and we will continue. We'll continue just to get through the show. We'll have some guests, but I'm not gonna get on here and fake it. I don't want to be here. I don't want to talk about anything, but I'm gonna, because I feel it's necessary, and that gave me an opportunity in the first segment to make people realize that she's more than just a name.
Yeah.
She's more than just a victim. She's a person that had a tremendous impact on this community and comes from a wonderful family, and that I want to make sure that is known by everybody. So we'll take a break. Back after this on WHB. Welcome back to the Border Patrol on Sports Radio 810 WHP. Thank you so much for joining us. Stephen St. John and Nate Bukaty and Jake Gutierrez. It's Thursday, February 15th. And again, a heartfelt thank you to all the first responders that fearlessly ran towards the danger and did whatever they could to try to help people and save people. Thank you. Thank you to all the, I can't imagine. I don't know, you posted something about this last night. I can't imagine, being, working at the ER or experiencing something like that. But again, thank you to all those wonderful people that are there to save lives when they have the opportunity. And I'm sure they saved lives yesterday. And again, it was just, when I was texting you guys, and just that and I'm sure that across Kansas City, we all felt like, well, that those moments where we didn't know what the hell was going on, right? And then you're trying to think in your head, who do I know down there? Who's down there? How can I make sure they're okay? And so I stood out on Grand, for a while watching these sirens, and then watching, sirens racing towards it, and then people running away from it. And I guess one of the things, just, there's obviously going to be so many images that people can't scrub from their minds, but so many kids crying. There's so many kids just, because they don't know, they're just kids, and they shouldn't know. They shouldn't have to deal with something like that, and that's another thing that I think is just so heartbreaking, that so many kids were traumatized by this, and it's going to have such an effect on them moving forward. Like you said, for kids that were there, kids that knew kids that were there. I saw it. There's a video of the young man that's in high school that jumped over a barricade and cut his head, and he couldn't find his friends, and just going through something like that. Just and I saw some other interviews of some teenagers that saw people get shot, and it's they shouldn't have to be dealing with that when you're a kid, and that's just heartbreaking to me. And it was just standing there. I'll never forget that. Just standing there, and just all these, because you knew when you saw the response, if you didn't, the sirens just wouldn't end, and they were racing down there. And then you're like, what? How bad is it? And it kept, with every report, it kept getting worse. Every report, there was more people that were injured or shot. But again, I'd like to think that the tremendous response from the police, hopefully, and some heroes that were out there in the crowd that, took matters in their own hands. Hopefully, it'll be recognized that they saved some lives down there. I just can't wrap my head around all this stuff.
Yeah, I would encourage, if you have kids, and maybe not just kids, if you're an adult too, but if you have kids, check in on them, see how they're processing everything, because one of the things I learned when my son came into the room in the middle of the night last night, he's communicating on social media and Snapchat with his groups of friends, and a bunch of them were down there, and then all of a sudden somebody knows somebody who knows somebody, and they're all having these conversations that you might not be aware of as a parent. So just make sure you check on them and give them the resources to talk about what they need to talk about. I don't know how you process these things. Stephen, you and I talk about our background sometimes. I witnessed a shooting, the first high school football game I ever attended at Bishop Ward High School. A classmate of mine was shot 2 times, and I don't think I'm been kind of having some flashbacks to that, thinking about what went through my mind at the moment it happened, and a lot of the things that you heard people say when you watched the news yesterday, that at first we thought it was fireworks. I remember when the shooting happened when I was 14 years old. At first we thought somebody was just shooting off fireworks outside.
How could you know? There's so many people around, and there's so many things going on.
Yeah.
And if you're down there, how could you know? What direction it's coming from, and what's real and what's not, and where you should go. I can't. It's just and there's so many people anyway, right? And that's why I think this makes us different, because it's just
chaos,
the confusion and the chaos and everything. And and one of the things that'll always stand out to me, and again, we're just sharing our own our own personal experiences with this, and we're sitting down there. We're a couple of blocks away from everything, so we're not in harm's way, but we're also right there. We're all the sirens are passing us, and people are running past us the other way, clearly traumatized, and it's bad, but we're just not understanding it yet, and so we're all just, hey, everyone stay where they are. No one's leaving. Head count, everyone good. Let's figure this out. And so then my daughters sit there and start, they're sitting there talking and writing something or whatever. And I'm like, what are you doing? She goes, we're trying to figure out how many of our friends are down there at Union Station, so we can text them or contact them to make sure everyone's okay. And I'm sitting there listening, rattle off names that I know. And they're just, sitting there compiling, trying to compile a list so they could make sure their friends didn't get shot or, So, and I know that that's not a unique experience, because wherever you were, that's immediately what you're thinking. Where are my people? How are my people? How can I get a hold of my people? And it just breaks my heart that some people didn't get the response they were looking for. And I hope people can at least take this away from the show. I mean, we're majority of the time we're 3 jackasses, goofballs that talk about sports and movies and ridiculous things. But I hope at least people out there know that how much we love Kansas City, and how much we love doing this radio show, and how much we love the people that listen to the show, and how sorry we are, and how heartbroken we are for anyone that was affected by this. Because I think all 3 of us share this. We just love Kansas City so much. Ships pretty much sailed on this one, but I'm 51. I just couldn't possibly comprehend living anywhere else, or wanting to live anywhere else. Man, I still don't. Kansas City is where I was born. Kansas City is, when I take my last breath, it'll be in Kansas City. I love this city. And and I'm not alone. It hurts me. It hurts my heart so much just to see so many people upset and so many people sad in the city that I love so much. You know, it's just it's as simple as that. Jake, talk for a little bit. How about that?
Well, I mean, I tried to move somewhere else and didn't work.
Right.
This is where I belong.
Let's be honest. You couldn't stay away from me. This was that's what it was.
That's absolutely
Steven
true.
just kept calling you home.
I mean, look at how many times I've been, people recognize us on occasion, and especially people who listen to the show, and how many times, like, oh man, what a great job. I'm so jealous. Like, man, I would love to do that. People I care about, like, it sounds like you three are like family. And it's like, this is one day where it's like, I don't think very many people want this job. But how I thought about it last night, and I was texting with a good buddy of mine last night, and we were just going back and forth. I was like, I hate this. I hate the fact that we have to go try to fill 4 hours with, we're, like you said, we're idiots.
Fill 4 hours with our nonsense.
Right. And, and he kind of put something in perspective for me. And he said, maybe God put you three in those chairs for a certain reason. And I guess so. In my life today, everything happens for a reason. I don't always understand it. I don't have to. But yeah, he was like, maybe you went back to that job for this simple day, for you to be there for people who are hurting. And
well, I mean, hey, if nothing else, when I walked in, you gave me a big hug and made me feel better. So
yeah, I mean,
it was.
As we all struggle through this, none of us are alone, and we're doing this together. And I recognized what kind of an impact we have on people's lives when I did step away from this job for 20 months. And you listening out there, you impact our lives.
Yeah.
Way more than we impact your lives.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
And so what we're going to do is we're going to get through this because we have to. It's not going to be easy. The city will recover. The city will come out on the other side of this. Right now, it's so almost impossible to fathom that. How do we ever come back from this?
Because we don't know this. We don't know everything yet. It's
Right.
So this just happened. It's just, and we're all confused.
But
right?
I do know that the city has resolve like none other. That like Nate mentioned yesterday, like how prideful the city is, how proud the citizens of Kansas City are. Look, first thing I thought of is the conversation we were having yesterday. In my first sports memory, almost as far as back as I can go, it's 5 years old, and the joy I had in that event of the '85 World Series parade, and how people were robbed of that moment, but also, it's going to be long and hard, but we can recover. We will recover, but it's not going to be easy, and nobody's going to have to do it alone. I guess we're all here together. And if you're listening to this, thank you. And, we're here for you and you're here for us. So, that's kind of what family's all about. It's kind of what, real friendships are about. Being there in a time of need when it's not easy, when it goes against everything that there's no playbook for this. How could we you see it on TV all the time, and it's traumatic, but until you have it hit home, it's impossible to know how to wade through this.
I want to go back to what you said earlier, Stephen, too, because it's as tough as it is to get on the air and try to find some appropriate words for something like this for a long period of time. It's nothing compared to the people that we're running to to try to help others, as you said. You know, those who, so many people involved, and I want to try to keep focusing on all of the helpers involved in the situation, the first responders, the police officers who, you know, at their own risk, rush to safety, the Samaritans down there who tried to do whatever they could to help, the people that work at places like Children's Mercy Hospital who dedicate their entire lives to saving other people. And I think about the trauma that those people see, because they see horrific things on an almost daily basis, and they have to set their emotions aside and do what they can to help those of us that are in need. We can't thank people like that enough. You know, we probably all have somebody in our life that does a job like that. You know, think about my buddy Dr. Epler, who works in the emergency room. His day was a nightmare yesterday. It's an absolute nightmare, you know. But he just handles it. And we can't thank those people enough. It's just, I mean, when I try to put it in that perspective, it's the least we can do to try to be here for people. But also, to go back to your point, you know, Lisa can never be forgotten. Lisa needs to be remembered and uplifted, and everybody needs to know what an amazing human being that you had a relationship with, that we're all learning about.
Well, just go look at her Facebook page and see how many, you know, and like I said, I mean, her family is awesome. One of the best families in Kansas City. And the Lopez family that I spent so much, you know, time with and around when I was a kid and in high school. And I guess I graduated with her brother, and her older brother was a senior when I was a freshman, and her sister was a year younger than me. And, you know, just, you know, watching her and her family grow on Facebook over the years. And as I mentioned earlier, one of my dear close friends that I talk about on the show all the time, Hugo, that was Lisa's little cousin. And, you know, I'm just so heartbroken for their family, and such a wonderful family. And I mean, and my buddy Hugo, man, he had 4 cousins shot yesterday, including Lisa. And it's just like, that's and so just, yeah, I hope people can at least spend some time focusing on that. And please keep their family in your prayers, and please take some time to go visit her Facebook page and see all the wonderful tributes and things that people are saying about her, and what a positive impact she had in, you know, not just the Latino community, but the Kansas City community, and doing wonderful things for people, and giving people so many great memories as a DJ, and, you know, as a radio host, and someone that was, I mean, always doing something in the community. Always. That's what should be focused on. That's what should be remembered right now, and as much love as we could send to lift up her family and make them feel loved. I hope that could be the focus right now. We'll be right back after this on WHP.